In every life, there's a quiet moment when you realize the movie you're restarring in isn't being directed by you. You wake up, the alarm screams, the world pulls you into its rhythm, work, bills, obligations, expectations, and somewhere in the noise you forget something dangerous. You're not in control, or at least that's what you've been led to believe. Most people go through life half asleep. They drift, they wait, they hope someone, anyone, will notice they're drowning and throw a rope. A parent, a partner, a friend, a miracle, fate, luck, someone. But what if I told you the rope isn't coming? And what if that's the best news you'll ever hear? Because the moment you stop waiting to be rescued is the moment everything changes. That's the moment you stop being a passenger and grab the wheel with both hands. That's the moment you stop accepting the life you were handed and start building the life you deserve. Right now, in this very second, there is a stronger, braver, more relentless version of you waiting to be unleashed. But you'll never meet them if you keep sleeping through your own story. So listen carefully, because today is the day we flip the script. Today is the day you stop hoping someone saves you and start becoming the kind of person who doesn't need saving at all. Most people move through life with an invisible belief stitched into their thinking. Everything will work out somehow. It sounds comforting, it feels hopeful, but beneath that soft idea sits a harder truth most refuse to face. Nothing works out unless you show up and make it work. We're raised on stories where heroes are saved, helped, guided, chosen. Someone swoops in, someone fixes it, someone changes everything. And even as adults, we cling to that fantasy. We wait for bosses to notice our worth, for partners to appreciate us, for parents to push us, for a teacher, a mentor, a leader, a stroke of luck to finally propel us forward. Waiting becomes a habit, so subtle you don't even feel it happening. Yet life is not a movie. There is no orchestral score rising when you hit low points. There is no hero bursting through the door at just the right moment. There is no guarantee, no rescue timer counting down to save you from your fears, your struggles, your bills, your loneliness, or your dreams left untouched. The truth is raw but liberating. No one is coming. And that realization is not meant to crush you. It's meant to free you, because the moment you accept that you are the only guaranteed constant in your life, you stop outsourcing responsibility for the direction your life is heading. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. Look around at the world. Every person you admire, every success story you read, every individual who clawed their way to a better life, did it not because someone handed them a path, but because at some point they said, enough. If I want this, I have to build it. No one wakes up one day suddenly disciplined. No one magically becomes confident, fearless, successful, or unshakable. They forge those qualities. And forging anything requires heat, pressure, and repetition. Think about it. How many times have you given your power away without realizing it? When you blame circumstances, you hand away control. When you blame your upbringing, your relationships, your workplace, the economy, or timing, you place your entire future in someone else's pocket. You make your happiness something that must be delivered instead of something you create. But here's the uncomfortable flip side. If no one is responsible for rescuing you, then no one gets to decide your limits either. You get to do that. You get to rewrite what you expect of yourself. You get to decide what matters to you more than excuses, or fear, or fatigue. You get to choose to step forward even when it's not convenient, even when it's not easy, even when you don't feel like it. And there will be days you don't feel like it. There will be days you wake up heavy and uninspired, days when everything in you wants to revert to autopilot, scrolling, complaining, numbing, distracting. That instinct is normal. The difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck is what they do with that instinct. One group gives in, the other gets up anyway. It's tempting to wait until you're ready, but readiness is a myth. Readiness comes from motion. Confidence comes from showing up. Clarity comes from walking the path, not thinking about it. Far too many people are writing their lives in pencil and never applying ink, always planning, always hoping, always envisioning, but never acting. They want someone to nudge them, push them, validate them, but validation is borrowed power. If you need someone else to tell you that you can do it, what happens when they stop clapping? There's a reason so many people feel frustrated or stuck. It's not because they're incapable, unworthy, or unlucky. It's because they've been waiting for confidence instead of building it, waiting for motivation instead of fostering discipline, waiting for permission instead of granting it to themselves. Success, in any definition you choose, belongs to the ones who understand that self-rescue is the only reliable plan. Look back at your life for a moment. Every breakthrough you've ever had came because you did something. You made a decision, you took a risk, you faced fear, you bet on yourself. Maybe quietly, maybe trembling, but you did it, and every setback, every regret, every drained year often came from waiting and hoping something would magically shift on its own. You can't control life, you can't control people, you can't control outcomes, but you can control whether you are asleep at the wheel or wide awake gripping it. When you wake up to the truth that no one is coming, you stop using energy to wish for rescue and start using it to dig your way out, build your way up, and break your own limits. This is not about doing everything alone forever. You will find allies, helpers, mentors, friends, but they will meet you on the road, not at the starting line. The universe moves for people who move. Momentum attracts opportunity, effort draws support, but none of that arrives for someone sitting still. If your life is going to change, it starts with you. If your future is going to look different than your past, it starts with you. If your dreams are ever going to become memories instead of fantasies, it starts with you. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when circumstances are perfect. Now, today, in the mess, in the fear, in the uncertainty, wake up to reality. Not the one that scares you, but the one that empowers you. No one is coming to save you, and that is the most powerful truth you will ever own. Because when you stop waiting, you start rising. And when you start rising, you discover you never needed saving in the first place. You only needed to show up for yourself. Self-reliance is not just a trait. It's a transformation. It's the moment you stop looking outward for strength and realize the strongest source of power you'll ever have lives inside you. Most people never discover that power because they've been conditioned from childhood to outsource it. We're taught to ask for permission, to follow instructions, to wait for approval. We're rewarded for being compliant instead of courageous. And without noticing it, we internalize a message that someone else knows better than we do. Someone else has the authority. Someone else gets to decide what we're capable of. That belief becomes a quiet cage, and most people spend their lives rattling the bars instead of walking out. But the truth is this. You are far more capable, resourceful, intelligent, and resilient than you've been led to believe. The problem isn't ability, it's ownership. When you rely on others to validate you, motivate you, save you, or tell you who you are, you're putting your entire life on layaway and hoping someone eventually pays the balance. Self-reliance is deciding that you are done waiting. It's choosing to be the source, not the dependent. It's becoming your own advocate, your own motivator, your own protector, your own enforcer of standards and dreams. Being self-reliant doesn't mean you never accept help or that you cut people out of your life. It means you stop needing rescue. You stop expecting others to do the heavy lifting of your life. You stop assuming your success depends on who supports you, who believes in you, or who shows up for you. You take back your agency, the ability to act, choose, decide, and move without permission. Think about how much energy is wasted waiting for someone else to take the lead, waiting for a boss to recognize your talent, waiting for a partner to understand your needs, waiting for the right time that never arrives. Waiting numbs you. It keeps you passive. It lets life happen to you instead of being shaped by you. But self-reliance flips the script. Instead of hoping things work out, you ask, what can I do to make them work? Instead of saying, I can't because, you ask, how do I figure this out? And here's where the magic hides. Every time you solve a problem without leaning on someone else, you get stronger. Every time you face something uncomfortable and handle it yourself, you become harder to break. Every time you stretch your limits and discover you didn't crack, your confidence expands. This is how warriors are built. One challenge at a time, one solved obstacle at a time, one decision to keep going when it would have been easier to quit. Self-reliance frees you from the emotional roller coaster of other people's opinions, moods, or reliability. You no longer crumble when someone doesn't support you or fails to follow through. You don't break when someone doubts you because your belief is no longer dependent on external applause. You trust your judgment. You trust your instincts. You take accountability not as a burden but as a privilege. And accountability really is a privilege. It means your life is in your hands, not someone else's. It means you can change direction when you want. You can pivot. You can build, you can destroy what no longer serves you and rebuild from scratch, not because someone told you to, but because you decided to. That level of agency terrifies some people because it leaves no excuses. But it also unlocks a level of freedom most never experience. There's another side to this. Once you become self-reliant, you stop being afraid of losing people. You understand that support is nice, company is wonderful, collaboration is powerful, but you are not dependent on anyone to keep your life intact. You walk into relationships with strength instead of need. You choose people. You don't cling to them. You don't collapse when someone leaves or life changes direction. Your foundation is internal, not external. The world tries to convince you you're small. Advertisers want you insecure, so you keep buying. Society tells you to stay in line. People project their fears onto you. But the second you begin to rely on yourself, you stop being shaped by those voices. You develop your own voice, your own compass, your own rhythm. You become someone others notice and respect, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. And here's the irony. The more self-reliant you become, the more support you attract. People gravitate to those who don't beg for attention or validation. Opportunities tend to show up for those who act instead of wait. Strength draws strength. Effort creates momentum. And once you've proven to yourself that you can carry your own weight, you become someone capable of lifting others if you choose, not from weakness or sacrifice, but from abundance and control. Self-reliance is a superpower because it removes limits. When you stop leaning on excuses, your potential becomes something real, not theoretical. When you stop waiting for motivation, discipline becomes your engine, and progress becomes inevitable. When you stop needing rescue, you start leading your own rescue mission every day, and the person who takes control of their life becomes unstoppable. This is not about being perfect. You will stumble. You will doubt yourself. You will fail, again and again, but each time you get up without waiting for someone to pull you to your feet, you reinforce the identity of someone who can, who will, and who does. And once you become that person, life doesn't happen to you anymore. You happen to life. Most people spend their entire lives chasing comfort like it's the prize. They want the easy schedule, the predictable plan, the familiar routine, the safe choice. It sounds reasonable, even responsible, until you realize that comfort is the cage that keeps you from ever becoming who you were meant to be. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Strength, confidence, resilience, identity, that entire territory exists outside the bubble of what feels easy. Yet we live in a world built to keep us comfortable. One-click answers, instant entertainment, convenience on demand. Our lives are padded with cushions that prevent us from feeling friction, and that might work for keeping your heart rate low, but it does nothing for your soul, your ambition, your evolution. The truth is simple and brutal. Discomfort is the price of progress. The things you want most, better health, new skills, purpose, discipline, success, fulfillment, don't come wrapped in comfort. They require you to stretch, to struggle, to fail, to sweat, and to endure. That is why so many people stay stuck where they are. It's not that they lack talent or intelligence or opportunity. It's that when life asks them to push beyond what feels easy, they retreat. They shrink instead of rise. They choose the couch instead of the challenge, the excuse instead of the effort, the short-term comfort instead of the long-term reward. Think back to any achievement you've ever had, anything you're proud of. Was it comfortable getting there? Probably not. There were days you doubted yourself, days you were tired, days you were frustrated, days you wanted to walk away. That discomfort didn't stop you, it grew you. It shaped you into someone capable of doing what once felt impossible. Yet once the achievement is done, many people go right back to avoiding discomfort again. They forget that the struggle was the gift. Your brain is wired for survival, not greatness. It wants things familiar because familiar equals safe. It whispers, stay where you are. Don't risk embarrassment, don't try something new, don't fail, don't stretch. But safety is not the point of your life. Comfort might keep you alive, but discomfort makes your life worth living. If you want to become stronger, you must voluntarily step into the space where you feel unsteady, uncertain, and exposed. Discomfort is the invitation to become a better version of yourself. Every time you wake up early to train when the bed feels warm and forgiving, you're choosing discomfort. Every time you study instead of distracting yourself, you're building a new outcome. Every time you speak up when your voice trembles, every time you set a boundary when your heart pounds, every time you try something you're not instantly good at, you're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. The more often you choose discomfort intentionally, the less power discomfort has over you. What once felt terrifying becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes routine. This is how confidence is built, not by winning every time, but by facing the unknown enough times that it no longer owns you. Real confidence isn't a feeling, it's evidence. Evidence that you've been through challenges and survived. Evidence that you failed and stood back up. Evidence that discomfort didn't break you, but built you. And here's the paradox most people never figure out. Comfort becomes uncomfortable in the long run. Doing nothing feels good for a moment but feels terrible over time. Avoiding effort gives temporary relief but long-term regret. Playing small feels safe until you realize you've trapped yourself in a life too small for your spirit. Discomfort now prevents larger discomfort later. It's the tax you pay to avoid the pain of wasted potential. Society rewards people who persist through discomfort. The athlete who trains when no one is watching, the entrepreneur who works through uncertainty, the student who studies instead of scrolling, the parent who sacrifices ease for principles, the individual who refuses to quit when the path gets muddy. Those are the people who rise. Those are the people who build uncommon lives. And guess what? Their discomfort doesn't disappear, it evolves. They level up so the challenges level up too. But instead of running from resistance, they run toward it because they've learned a truth. Discomfort is a doorway to possibility. If you want to change your life in any meaningful way, you must be willing to be uncomfortable. Regularly, deliberately, consistently. You must be the person who takes cold showers, who speaks the hard truth, who faces fears instead of soothing them into silence, who chooses the harder path because it leads somewhere worth going. You must unlearn the reflex of retreat and train the reflex of pursuit. Growth demands it. Success demands it. You demand it, even if you don't realize it yet. And when you embrace discomfort, something powerful happens. You stop fearing it. You stop making excuses every time life challenges you. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. You learn that the feeling of discomfort is not a warning to stop, but a signal you're exactly where you should be, expanding, evolving, becoming. That tingling anxiety before you start something new, that sinking feeling when you stretch beyond your limits, that voice saying, "What if I fail?" Those sensations are signposts that you're entering the territory where transformation occurs. Start small if you must, but start. Do one thing every day that makes you uncomfortable. Not reckless, uncomfortable. Speak up. Learn something difficult. Push your body. Sit with your feelings. Ask for what you need. Put your work out into the world. You will surprise yourself with who you become. Because on the other side of discomfort is freedom. The freedom to try, to fail, to grow, to reinvent, to expand your world and your identity. Comfort keeps you the person you are. Discomfort unveils the person you could become. And once you taste that version of yourself, the resilient one, the disciplined one, the courageous one, you won't want to go back. Most people live in their heads far more than they live in their lives. They think, plan, dream, visualize, and imagine, yet take very little action. They get stuck in what-ifs and options, endlessly circling around their own ideas without ever translating them into movement. But the truth is, nothing changes until you act. Not think, not wish, not intend, act. The world rewards execution, not potential. The distance between who you are and who you want to be is measured entirely by the actions you are willing to take. Taking action is not a talent some people are born with. It's a skill, one that must be developed, practiced, and strengthened like a muscle. And like any muscle, the less you use it, the weaker it becomes. Procrastination, hesitation, and overthinking are the slow poison that kills momentum. People wait for inspiration, believing that one day they'll wake up overflowing with motivation, clarity, and drive. But action does not begin with motivation. Motivation begins with action. You don't get fired up first. You move first, and the fire comes later. One of the biggest traps people fall into is perfectionism. The belief that action only counts if it's flawless. They won't start the project until they know everything. They won't apply for the job unless they meet every requirement. They won't pursue the dream until every risk disappears. But perfectionism is just fear wearing a polished mask. It's a clever excuse that sounds responsible but keeps you frozen. The truth is, your first attempt will never be perfect. It's not supposed to be. The first version of anything, your writing, your career shift, your fitness journey, your business idea, is meant to be messy, incomplete, and uncomfortable. Because the purpose of the first step is not to succeed, it's to begin. Action breeds clarity. You don't discover the path by studying it from the sidelines. You discover it by walking. When you take steps, even small ones, you uncover what works, what doesn't, where to pivot, and how to improve. Sitting still gives you no new data. Movement does. The people who become unstoppable aren't the ones who always choose correctly. They're the ones who choose consistently. They learn fast because they act often. They improve rapidly because they do the work, not because the work is easy. Another myth that keeps people from acting is the belief that they must feel ready. Readiness is a fantasy. No one is ever fully ready to start anything meaningful. Readiness shows up after you've begun, not before. You build readiness through experience, through mistakes, through trying, falling, and trying again. If you wait for your fear to vanish or your confidence to magically appear, you'll wait for the rest of your life. Discipline is the real engine of action. It's not glamorous, it's not thrilling, it's not Instagram-worthy. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's showing up on the days when your enthusiasm evaporates, on the days when no one is cheering for you, on the days when progress feels slow or invisible. This is where people separate themselves. Anyone can act when it feels good. The ones who win are the ones who take action when it feels terrible. And here's something most people forget. Tiny actions count. Small steps compound. Consistency beats intensity every time. Going to the gym for 10 minutes is better than skipping because you don't have an hour. Writing 1 page a day will give you a book faster than waiting for a weekend when you feel inspired. Saving a little every month beats planning to save a lot someday. The smallest effort repeated relentlessly destroys the biggest intention left undone. Momentum is built from motion, not magnitude. Taking action also means confronting fear, not eliminating it, but acting with it. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a sign you're stepping outside familiarity. Every meaningful decision involves uncertainty. Every leap toward growth includes doubt. Courage is not being unafraid. It's performing while afraid. When you acknowledge fear and move anyway, it shrinks. When you avoid it, it grows into something monstrous that controls your choices. Action keeps fear in check. Another powerful truth, action is contagious within your own life. When you start taking steps in one area, your health, your learning, your mindset, your career, it bleeds into others. You begin seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who does what they say, someone who can be counted on. Identity shifts from passive to active. And when your identity changes, your entire life changes with it. The most successful people in any field, from athletes to entrepreneurs to artists, are not the smartest or most talented. They are the ones who act the most. They experiment, they fail, they try again, they iterate. They don't wait for ideal timing, they create conditions through action. They don't get attached to the outcome of every attempt. They trust that doing will eventually produce results. Make this your rule: progress over perfection, direction over hesitation, discipline over mood. If there's something you've been dreaming about, stop holding it hostage in your imagination. Break it into steps. Take the first one, then another, and another. Do not analyze your way out of it. Thinking is valuable, but only when it leads to movement. Ideas without action are ghosts. Actions turn ideas into reality. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to take the next step. And once you take that step, the path reveals itself. Your confidence expands, your skills sharpen, and your dream stops being a wish and starts being a destination. Master the skill of action, and you will become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become the kind of person who moves forward anyway. Most people don't end up in the life they dreamed of. They end up in the life they tolerated. A life that's fine. A routine that's predictable. A job that pays enough to avoid panic but never enough to feel free. A circle of people who don't challenge them, and a version of themselves that feels familiar but unfulfilled, not because they aren't capable of more, but because at some point they quietly settled. They told themselves this is probably as good as it gets. And with that one sentence, their ambition shrank, their effort slowed, and their potential got boxed up and tucked away. But here's the truth. Many people don't say out loud, settling is a choice, not a destiny. Every day you wake up, you're either building the life you want or reinforcing the one you're merely enduring. There is no neutral. Drift long enough and you wash up somewhere you never intended to be. Intentionality is the difference maker. Choosing instead of accepting, designing instead of drifting, steering instead of sleepwalking. Creating the life you want begins with a brutally honest question. Whose life are you living? Yours? Your parents'? Society's idea of success? The expectations of friends who don't dream as big? The version of yourself that's afraid to fail? Most people don't realize they've built their lives based on external programming, not internal desire. They choose careers to be practical instead of passionate. They suppress dreams because they fear looking foolish. They stay where it's safe because choosing more feels selfish or unrealistic. But the life you want is not going to build itself. It won't magically assemble from hope or luck or circumstances. You must architect it, brick by brick, decision by decision, risk by risk. And that starts by acknowledging that you want more. Many people don't even allow themselves to want. They're afraid wanting will awaken disappointment, so they shrink their vision to avoid the sting of unrealized potential. But dreaming small does not protect you, it suffocates you. Dissatisfaction is not failure, it's a signal. It's your life telling you that you're living below your capacity. The discomfort you feel in a life that's fine is your spirit knocking on the door saying, I'm meant for more than this. Too many ignore that voice until it goes quiet. And by the time reality forces them to confront regret, they're buried under decades of excuses. To build the life you want, you must begin with clarity. Not a perfect 5-year plan, just honesty. What do you actually want? Freedom? Impact? Adventure? Security? Creativity? Purpose? More meaning? More challenge? More agency? The specifics might change as you evolve, but the act of choosing direction is powerful. People fear making the wrong choice, so they make none. But stagnation is always the wrong choice. Once you claim your desire, the next step is raising your standards. You cannot create an extraordinary life with ordinary expectations. You must stop accepting less from yourself, from your environment, from the people around you. The moment you raise your standards, your actions naturally rise to meet them. You stop tolerating unhealthy habits, draining relationships, dead-end situations, and self-sabotaging patterns. You start acting like the kind of person who deserves the life you want. But be warned, creating a life you want will cost you. It will cost comfort. It will cost certainty. It will cost the illusion of safety. It may cost relationships that prefer the older, easier version of you. It will require effort, sacrifice, and a willingness to be misunderstood. People around you may not support your transformation. Not because they don't care, but because your growth threatens their comfort. And you have to be willing to go anyway. On the other side of that discomfort is a life that feels like yours. A life where you wake up excited instead of drained. A life that challenges you in ways that fuel you instead of breaking you. A life aligned with your values instead of enforced by routine. A life that you consciously choose every day, not one you endure because choosing feels risky. You need to understand something deeply. You are not stuck. You are simply trained by habit. Habits of thought, habits of behavior, habits of settling. The door to a different future is always unlocked. You just have to stop convincing yourself it isn't there. Every small decision to act differently, think differently, show up differently creates cracks in the old version of your life until it eventually crumbles, making space for the one you actually want. And here's the beautiful twist. Once you begin creating your own life instead of inheriting one, you stop envying what others have. You stop comparing. You stop resenting people who achieve things you secretly wish for, because instead of watching from the outside, you're building from the inside. You become the kind of person others look at and whisper, how did they do it? And the answer is simple but powerful. You decided not to settle. The life you want is waiting, not in some distant future when you have time, money, confidence, or permission, but now, in the decisions you make today, in the risks you are willing to take, in the standards you are no longer willing to lower, in the belief that you are worthy of a life that lights you up, not just one that lets you get by. You are the author. You are the architect. You are the force that determines whether your story becomes a masterpiece or a quiet compromise. Do not settle for a life that is small enough to fit inside someone else's expectations. Create the one that fits the size of your potential. You get one life, one shot, one timeline. And every minute you spend waiting, wishing, hesitating, or hiding is time you never get back. There is no rehearsal, no practice round, no pre-game warm-up where you learn the lines before the real show begins. This is it, right now. Your breath, your strength, your future. You have everything you need to rewrite your story, not because it will be easy, but because you are built for hard things. You've survived every bad day you thought would break you. You've carried burdens no one else sees. You've fought silent battles and won. The proof that you are capable is already in your history. Now your job is to build your legacy. Wake up, stand up, step up, stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect rescue. You are the plan. You are the rescue. You are the force that will shift your world. There will be fear. There will be setbacks. There will be moments you want to quit. But the life you want, the life you know deep down you were meant for, is on the other side of those moments. Push anyway, move anyway, choose yourself every single day, even when it doesn't feel natural. Because once you decide, you will no longer be the person who waits to be saved. Everything changes. Your path changes. Your identity changes. Your future explodes with possibility. No one is coming. And that is your power. So save yourself, build yourself, back yourself, and live so boldly that you never again question who you were meant to become. This is your time. This is your life. Go take it.